So I want to talk to you right now about college versus IT certifications. And this is a big topic. So in the last 2 weeks, I've probably had 18 different people that I've talked to, or I had a discussion with, or it was a text message or something from LinkedIn or something at the masjid. And they were talking about taking college classes and getting college degrees in order to enter IT, whether with cybersecurity or they wanted to do cloud. And they were looking at all these different universities to be able to enter into IT. But here's the thing, I entered into IT back in 2007. So I have both perspectives, right? I went into the Navy with the goal to become a doctor. That's why I went in there. That's why I became a combat medic, and which is the hospital corpsman. And I went with a Marine Corps unit because I wanted to be in the field, and I wanted to learn trauma, emergency medicine, and then eventually go to medical school and work in the ER. That was my plan. That was my goal. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So years later, and after deploying and getting home and coming back to San Diego and getting out of the Navy and being unable to find a job, I said, okay, well, let me just sign up at the university. I want to get a medical school, and the GI Bill was not enough to cover everything, right? So reality kicked in, and rent was due, bills were coming. I had to do something, right? So I decided, look, I'm pretty good with computers. I'm going to get into IT. And I just started from there, going back and forth to the library, trying to figure it out. And I was in a program at the time, I was in the Master of Science in Human Behavior. And I was going to use that to get a master's in psychology. And I was going to use that as a way to jump into medicine. That didn't pan out, right? Hunger is an extreme motivator, baby. So I flipped over to IT, right? And I ended up getting my master's in educational instructional technology because it was quicker to complete the program and get the degree. But here's the thing, here's the mistakes. I racked up a ton of debt. Even though the military was paying for a lot of the education and the GI Bill covered a lot, I still took loans because I really didn't have the financial knowledge at that time and didn't understand the impact of loans and debt and did not have a job, right? So here's the thing, I will tell you from 20 some odd years of experience in IT, I cannot remember, honestly, one instance of any hiring manager or official picking me as a candidate because I had a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. Not one, not one time, right? Now, I have gotten questions about, do you have this certification? Because we want to make sure that you have the basic fundamental knowledge to do this job. I have had that question. I've had questions about Linux. I mean, back in the day, I had got the CompTIA Linux Plus, and and VMware certification. I had a job where a VMware certification was required because partners have to register certified people to work for them in order for them to maintain their partnerships for different things. And these are years ago, but the process is still the same. So what I'm telling you is this: before you go out and fall for the sales pitch of these different online universities and listen to their salespeople that tell you, oh, you just have to have it. And you're listening to everybody that I need to go get a degree. I want you to understand that if you don't have a job and your employer is not paying for it 100%, do not put yourself in debt. Please don't do that, because if you take student loans, okay, if you go to a community college, the Pell Grant, if you're in the US, right? If you're outside the US, totally different ballgame. If you're in, and this is the first part of the conversation is in the US. So in the US, to be honest, you really don't need a college degree to get a job. You really don't. Not in IT. Maybe other fields, but not IT. I've worked in all kind of jobs in IT. VMware system engineer, cloud engineer. I've been an IT manager, IT director, deputy CIO. Um, uh, it was never required for me to have a degree to do any of those jobs over the last 20 years at all, right? But I have had certifications that were required, especially DoD, the 8140 now, but it was a different series then, and there were some certifications that were required for different jobs. So that is the case, at least in GovTech. The private sector has different ones, right? So if you take on a college degree and you take on all that debt, then you got to pay it back. right? So, for example, like the Pell Grant I was talking about, you can go to the community college and you can actually, you know, you can get a program that allows the Pell Grant to cover almost everything, and then you pay for books and stuff like that. So that is a benefit. But that's the community college. That's a 2 year degree, right? Um, and you have some community colleges that are, you can go to school for free in some states, some counties, depending on where you live. 4 year schools are different, right? Bachelor's, master's level, even higher to PhD. And I've taught. I've taught at universities. I taught at UMUC back in the day as an instructor, adjunct professor, which is it was so bootleg how they do that process. But anyway, um, it's just not something that is required to do the job. Now, if I would take Shay from 2025 and go back and talk to Shay in 2027, I mean, 2007, I would have never advised myself to go get a master's degree. It wasn't necessary, right? What I should have focused on was getting the higher level certifications and then focusing on hands on and experience and working at different companies where I can get a lot of experience and a lot of hands on because your ability to solve a problem quicker is how you make more money, and your ability to solve crazy problems and communicate and explain yourself, that's what allows you to make more money, right? Your experience, your hands-on. The certification helps you get past HR and get into the door. You may have a couple companies out there that may require a degree, but they're a drop in the bucket. You can always find someplace else. You can, right? So the college degree thing in the US is absolutely not required to work in IT. But in order to demonstrate that you have the ability to do the work, an IT certification gives you the basic fundamental background to demonstrate that you are capable of the basic fundamentals of this job role, whether it's a SOC analyst or a Linux engineer. You get your Red Hat Certified System Administrator, LFCS, or you may go get TCM Security, AGPT, or Hack the Box, or these different certifications for cyber, if it's cloud, AWS Certified Solutions Architect, or Google Cloud certification, etc. So these are basic fundamentals that demonstrate to an employer that you can do this work. You have the basics. And then when you get past the screening, you walk into the interview and you sell yourself, right? You sell yourself. You sell your abilities, your capabilities, your flexibility, your willingness to do the work, and everything that it takes to answer all the questions to actually get the job. And then once you get the job, you perform like a beast, right? You make sure that you do the work. That's what it is. That's what it is with IT, and that's what's different about IT and maybe many other job fields, right? Um, Medicine, you had to have the credentials. Period. There was no there was no compromise in that, right? If you needed to be an EMT to work inside the clinic, you had to be an EMT. If you wanted to be a doctor, you needed to get that degree. So some job fields do require it, but IT does not, right? So before you put yourself into a bachelor's or master's or a PhD program, so a PhD, unless you intend on teaching academically at a university or doing research, why are you doing a PhD? You know, I enrolled in the PhD program. I enrolled into and got accepted into the cybersecurity program for National University because I wanted to teach. I paused it. I paused that whole effort for right now because of life happening and other things going on. But that intention was to teach. So what I'm saying is this: do not go out and sign up for loans. You don't have a job, you don't have experience inside that job field, you don't have IT certifications related to that job field in IT that you want to do, but you want to put 10, 20, 30, $40,000 of debt on your neck, right? That has to be paid back. And it's it's something that I look back on how many years it took me to pay those student loans and debts. And you justify it in your mind why it's so important. You really need to do it. It's going to help you. And the reality is, every single interview I've ever done from 2007 to 2025, not one person asked about the degree. Not one. But many have asked about an IT certification. Many. Almost every job, every single time. So you want to focus on getting skills and practical knowledge and hands-on experience. That's what you want to focus on. That's where the labs come in. That's where working in jobs, if you have no experience as an intern, or you get a job, a low level job, so that you can learn and get the hands on and demonstrate over time your experience and your capabilities. And then you adapt and grow and learn and move on to the next thing. But please do not go off and jump into a 50, 20, 30, $100,000, kind of process where you're getting a degree hoping that you will get a job. It doesn't work like that. Just having a college degree is not going to land you a job. Not in the US. It's not guaranteed. Now, if you're outside of the US, it tends to be a barrier to entry. It's like how they segregate the workforces. And see, outside of the U.S., you deal with a lot of craziness, right? Now, I'll pick on Kenya, my Kenyans for a second. You have to know somebody, right? If you're in the African continent or Middle East or somewhere in the Asian peninsula, if you don't know anybody, it's very hard to land a job. It's very difficult because of the way you have corruption in so many different environments, nepotism, like a family member or somebody is insane outside of the U.S. I experienced it firsthand when I went to Kenya for a little while, and it was crazy, right? And so many people deal with that dynamic on a daily basis. That's why they try to come to the US and UK and Australia, some of these different countries, is to have the ability to have the open and fair, or Canada, ability to actually land a job based upon your skill instead of who you know or who's going to hook you up. I mean, you got people overseas that will pay money to people to help them get a job, and sometimes they'll get scammed out the money. It's really something, right? It's really something. Um, for the Kenyans, Sikiza, it may be a time that you have to actually go through some of these processes and do get that degree to separate yourself from everybody else to be competitive. But what rings true everywhere on earth for IT is that if you have that technical certification outside the US dollars can be extremely cost prohibitive, very expensive, right? But if you're in the US and you have that capability, you might even have a company that's willing to pay for them. The certification shows your baseline knowledge, right? The experience is so critical, so key to develop labs, projects, demonstrate that you are it. You are the one that they want. That's IT. That's what you need to do. That's the focus that you spend your time on. And let me tell you something, most of the technologies available are either free or you can find low cost options that are structured paths. You just have to do the research and do the work. There's many people like me out there, thousands, that will or have cheap or low cost training. When I started learning AWS, I went to Adrian Cantrell, and I used the practice exam for John Bonzo. I didn't pay more than $80 at the time for the practice exams and for the initial training. I forgot what it was. It was when he first started it. I can't remember what the price was back then, but you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars learning, but you do need to spend your time to dedicate it. If you got to stay up, if you're broke and don't have no money and you don't have a job, if you got to stay up all night, most of the day, studying, learning, training, getting yourself ready, then that's what you have to do, baby. You got to do that. Don't sit there saying, I don't have time, I'm busy, but then you're scrolling on this thing, sitting there swiping, sitting there watching Netflix or Hulu or Instagram of videos, TikTok, whatever the distraction is, put it away, put it to the side. I guarantee you, unless Instagram is sending you a check in your direct deposit, or TikTok is sending you a check, or Facebook is sending you a check, you don't need to pay those apps no attention whatsoever, right? Unless you got partnerships and YouTube is sending you a bill, not a bill, they're sending you a paycheck. Then you can be so concerned about these platforms. But until you are ready, dedicate the time, focus on building your skill set, your practical hands-on knowledge, get the IT certifications that are going to get you in the door. But please don't jump out there and get suckered into some advisor at some university, regardless of whatever one it is, all right, telling you that you have to get this degree. I'm telling you right now, 20 years of experience in IT, not one, not one HR person ever asked me, do I have a college degree? No, never. And it pissed me off because I went through so much hell to get my degrees. It's not easy to get no college degree, I'm telling you. Now, do I appreciate that I have it? Yes, I do. Right? I'm National University alumni. I appreciate the fact that I went to the school. It was a very good school, in my opinion, personally. I liked it. I went to the library on the campus in San Diego, California. I enjoyed going to school. But do I enjoy that $50,000 bill that came later? Hell no. No, no, no. But life is as it is. So, from me to you, I hope this helps somebody who is struggling with this decision. But I tell you honestly, openly, and fairly, I have interviewed people, hired people, interviewed for people. I never asked about degrees. I never did. I didn't care, right? But what I did care is that you had experience. What I did care as a hiring manager is that you had certifications related to the position if your skill set, as far as like your experience, was on the lower end. So that was a way to have a baseline, right? Because I'm taking a huge risk by hiring you on. Or if I was working on a team, I wanted to demonstrate that I had this skill, that I could work in this environment. I could take the time and dedicate and learn on my own and bring value to the team. That's where certifications were valuable to me. Everybody has their own opinion. Some people say you don't need certifications. Well, you ain't never hired nobody, baby. So you need to go by something. You can't just go by the air, right? Um, and it's few and far between of people that have that kind of crazy amount of experience, and you don't care about none of that. Usually, if they don't have that, they have a huge brand, right? Their name is very well known. For the people that don't have any certifications, no degrees, they have a huge name, very reputable, well known, and respected. But that took time and years to build. But for normal people, regular people like me and you have to do these things, right? But I'm telling you, please do not go off and sign up for no 20, 30, $40,000 college degree. I don't care if it's 10,000. It's debt. And you don't have a job. You're not working in the field. And even if you do have a job and working in the field, you got to pay for it. I'm pretty sure you can use the money for something else, right? So please be smart, dedicate your time, focus, please listen, and I wish you the best. All right. Moving on to the next thing. You got that kind of money, give it to me.